Welcome to Longevity Industries' presentation of the Destiny of Manufacturing podcast. I am your host, Dean Phillips, and I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Precision Metal Forming Association, and the PMA's Educational Foundation for all of their help with this program. Our guest today is Sarah Boisvert. She comes to us from Fab Lab, where she is the founder of it, and its philosophy is dream it, design it, fabricate it to improve your life. Can you tell me a little bit about that, Sarah?
Sure. Our Fab Lab Network was developed by Neil Gershenfeld at the Center for Bits and Atoms at MIT, and we use all forms of digital fabrication. So we use CNC machining and 3D printing and laser cutting, and all tied together with CAD. And Neil always likes to say, the power of digital fabrication is not about the tools or the technologies. It's really about how it impacts society. And you can really change your workplace or your school or your community when you have an idea, and digital fabrication allows us to hold those ideas in our hands.
That's excellent. And I think it's a great entrepreneurial spirit to have that too. Tell me, if you had one big takeaway for 5 years from now that's the most impactful on how Fab Lab is going to change or be changing the environment, tell me what that big takeaway is for 5 years from now.
Well, my organization, which is Fab Lab Hub, works specifically on workforce training. And there are about 1,600 Fab Labs throughout the world connected in the MIT network. And all of us are slightly different. Some are in K-12 schools, some are in universities or colleges, some are in museums or libraries, some are makerspaces. But my particular work is on training what Ginny Rometty at IBM calls the new collar workforce. And that's really where I'm devoting my time. And the blue collar jobs have become digital jobs. And I did quite a lot of research with 200 manufacturers in the United States through a Verizon grant. And what I found they needed in terms of skills for operators and technicians was quite different than what you might think. The number one skill that they were looking for was problem solving. They were looking for hands-on experience. They were looking for digital experience with things like CAD. They didn't need anyone with advanced math. They needed people who could really design a CAD file and convert it to a .stl or convert it to G-code and make something. And I got down the research and I thought, well, that's what we do in Fab Labs. And I thought we were going to develop a 2-year curriculum, and hearing back from the manufacturers about the skills gap and how immediate the problem is, I thought we need something that is much more skills-based, and for students who perhaps didn't even realize manufacturing was an opportunity. I was looking for something that would allow people looking for a career, young people looking out of high school or returning military, or people already in jobs looking for how to improve their work situation. I wanted something more immediate and more skills-based, and what it all led me to were digital badges. And so I really believe, as does Ginny Rometty, that the idea that everyone needs a 2 or 4 year degree is changing, and particularly with online education and the way that kids learn today. I really think it's going to be a very different landscape of how our workers are trained and how they interact in the workplace.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that we do have a serious problem with workforce development, and we do need to change the face of how people look at education and training from what we've done in the past. And I think it's a great time.
That's very true. Yeah, you're exactly right. You are exactly right, and it's really thinking outside the box, and it's really trusting the kids. So we do project-based learning, and one of my students, one of my interns, in my lab at the Santa Fe Community College in Santa Fe, New Mexico, as well as one at the incubator here, the business incubator. And one of my students at the community college, my intern, this is such a great story. When he started, I think he was a little bit, put off by project-based learning because he was used to somebody standing up there and lecturing and telling him things, and not getting people the opportunity to explore and experiment, really, which, of course, engineering is all about. And he came to me one day and he said, "You probably don't realize this, but I have very bad ADHD," which, of course, I knew because it was hard for him to sit still when we did have a lecture in the class. He was taking design for 3D printing with me. And he said, "But I get so bored in my regular classes, but in this, I so enjoy it, and I just want to be in the lab all the time." And I think for people who have different learning abilities, not that they're good or bad, but just different, people learn in different ways. Sure. It opens up a lot of doors, and I have just seen this young man who's about 25 absolutely blossom by doing this experimental approach.
That's great to hear. And I think that people like that may not have found their place because they kept getting shoved into the direction of, well, you need to plan on a 4-year degree.
Yep.
And it was probably a terrible struggle for him going down that direction. So,
yeah, you're exactly right. Or the other people who come to our badges here are, for example, people who really don't know what they want to do and aren't sure what career path they want to go down. And so to sign up for even a 2-year commitment where you have a lot of expense, and what happens when you get out and discover it's not really what you want to be doing in your life. So it's a wonderful short-term way to test out a field. So, if you take the CAD design intro class and you think, God, I hate this, you've only spent 6 weeks on it and you're not really trapped. So I think it's a wonderful exploratory possibility for people who are either looking to change careers or looking to find new opportunities, because manufacturing right now is just the coolest place to be.
It is, and especially more people that get involved in it. I think it's opened a lot of people's eyes of what is possible. You know.
Yeah, and today with the new tools like 3D printing and lasers and all of the things that we use, many people these are coming out of science fiction. So particularly the high school students, when I tell them I build lasers, their eyes just open up. And, the first thing is, can you build a laser saber? And it's like, well, no, not quite. but I can build other kinds of things with lasers, and I can build lasers that do other kinds of things. And the same with 3D printing. I mean, 3D printing, to me, isn't the end all. I think that 3D printing is a tool to be used on the factory floor at this point. It's not the Star Trek replicator yet, and maybe it will be someday. Right now, it's a tool. But I'm telling you, it's how I get kids excited, and adults, too, not just children. But a large number of the people who come to take our classes, we offer them through the continuing education department, are adults. I get people who have already completed degrees everything from bachelor's to PhDs who will come and take our Design for 3D Printing class because 3D printing was not invented or on the curriculum or in the curriculum when they did their degrees, and they're really wanting to keep up. And, it really is a way to kind of open doors, but particularly for the people who have never dealt with technology. And there's so many ways that you can capture their imaginations with the 3D printer.
Right. And I think that's an important aspect that people sometimes overlook, is that one of the problems and challenges we have in technology is getting kids interested in it, because we've kind of pushed them away from it for so long because it was that's just a lot of hard work. You don't want to go that way. You need to go this direction. And
yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, I think that we, and parents, according to an SME poll, parents don't see manufacturing as a career choice. They don't see that it has advancement. They don't see that it has the same kind of pathways to, good, well-paying jobs that are safe and clean. The Northern Colorado Manufacturing Partnership, a few months ago, and I can't remember if it was for Manufacturing Day or not, but it was around that time, had their parent-student event at the most, and I won't think of the name of the company because I don't live in Colorado, but I was there. But it was at the most amazingly high-tech company. I mean, you walked in and it was like being in, on a spaceship. It was just such an inviting, clean, gorgeous facility. And, I think it's really important for us to highlight those, first of all, the facilities and how stimulating it is. I mean, they had robots and they had all kinds of very cool tools, but also for parents and students to understand that manufacturing is, even though you hear a lot about layoffs and things like that in the news, manufacturing tends to pay better than other fields. There was a study done in Baltimore by two groups that looked at what they call middle-level STEM skills, which I think is a dreadful name. Who wants to be middle-level anything, right? I mean, nobody wants to be middle-level. I think new-collar STEM skills is a better term.
Yeah.
But they were looking at these and comparing the salaries for the people who have these middle-level skills, so not engineers, but more what I think of as the what the operators and technicians need, versus STEM, so STEM versus non-STEM with the same degree level. And so, like with an associate's degree, for example, a STEM, and for those of your listeners who don't know, science, technology, engineering, and math, we like to add in the arts and call it STEAM. Mm-hmm. But that group earned 63% more than their counterparts in non-STEM degree programs. And so 63% is a large differential. The delta there is high enough to get people to start to pay attention. And that they were looking at entry-level jobs. And so not only is it a exciting field with so much cool, stuff going on right now. I mean, between autonomous vehicles and drones and, all wind power and, going to the moon and Mars. I mean, just great applications. But it's also a good career path. And I think we have to communicate that more to the world.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Tell me a little bit about the digital badging and how well companies have been receptive to maybe giving bonuses based on things like digital badging and things like that, and valuing those in the marketplace?
It's really changed quite a lot. The original platform, which is an open source platform, was originally worked on by IBM and Mozilla, the open source company. And now we're seeing quite a lot of companies themselves offering badges. So, for example, Autodesk certifications are all on a digital badge platform. And many more schools are using them. For example, the entire Colorado, I'm very close to Colorado, being here in New Mexico, the entire Colorado community college system uses them. I think Michigan State, one of the big colleges in Michigan, I want to say it's Michigan State, Colorado State, a lot of schools are using them, and so the employers are now more used to seeing them. I think they're becoming more common and more commonplace, so people aren't looking at it as what is that. They're starting to see them more regularly, and the platform allows for kind of the security of the data, and it's not possible. Well, I mean, everything's possible, but it's not easy for anybody to go in and alter the information in the badge. And it is the standards are set by an international committee. What attracted me to the badges is that when I looked at a lot of the certifications out there, a lot of it, particularly online, with book learning, and I can't hire a CNC machinist if they've never run a machine. And so, right?
Yeah.
So when I started to look at the badges, I thought, well, we have all these Fab Labs, and what we can do is develop the coursework and the badge platform to verify the gaining of the skills. But then we can also, because we do projects, have the project completed at the local Fab Lab or makerspace or college or university or high school, depending upon the location. And so our badge platform has a back end where the student documents in a portfolio kind of way how they solve the problem. And so as an employer, I can look at it and say, oh, well, this kid, hit the wall. There was a big brick wall. There was a problem. How'd they get around it? Did they cut corners? Did they come up with a really creative solution that solved the problem in the way that was required? Did they throw up their hands and give up? How did they deal with this? And since going back to my research, since the manufacturers were telling me they wanted problem-solving skills, rather than a piece of paper that says I passed the test, you could, as an employer, look through these problem-solving skill demonstrations and how, because you can't show that in a job interview.
Right.
And so it's really exciting. And so 10 labs and I and a community college formed the North American Digital Fabrication Alliance, and that is our nonprofit that is going to issue the badges. Our grant from America Makes, we're probably about halfway through the work on that, and so this will be launched in the next few months. So it's pretty exciting. I think it's really the future, but it also there's so many wonderful elements that answer the problems of the here and now.
Right. Well, I think that one of the areas that people overlook is they think that HR is different than other departments within businesses, and they're just they're the same. They are trying to use technology to improve their jobs, and using these digital badges, and using more technology. Again, they're doing most of their research on their candidates before they hire somebody, before they even walk in the door. Same as you do when you go and buy a washer and dryer. You're making all your decision before, for the most part, and narrowing it down to a few choices as opposed to inviting all of them in. So I think the more things that we can get in this direction, the easier we're going to make life for the HR people, which means they're going to be good friends of ours.
No, that is exactly right. And one of our future things, which we're hoping to get launched in Q2, is for our New Color network to almost be like a LinkedIn of new collar jobs. And so to have a platform where when people get the badges, they're listed as what badges they have through their profiles, but also to have categories so that if an employer is looking for, example, a laser safety technician or a laser safety officer, they can go to that badge and see a list of people who have that badge. And by the same token, we can have the people who have completed the badges see who out there is looking for those kinds of trainings. I find that LinkedIn and organizations like that tend to cater more to the professionals, to the accounting people, to the marketing people, to the engineers to some degree, but I don't see a lot for the people on the factory floor. And I recently saw a network, and it was for construction people, and it was for the people who really in the construction field who are, in the trenches. It wasn't for the marketing people. It was really for the people who were building things. And I thought that is just a great idea, and to have more like-minded people helping each other. And like you say, helping the HR people. If I really want to find somebody who can do robotics or AI, this is a place where I can go. So I think the ramifications of the badges are really huge for employment.
Yeah. Taxonomy within LinkedIn is an issue. It doesn't kind of dig down to the specific tasks and skills. It's very broad level wording that they use in their keyword searches. So you're absolutely right. It does not serve the technology very well. We definitely struggle with that.
Yeah. And I think really, again, the, more the hard hat guys and gals tend to not, I don't see them anyway as much in that community. And I think to have a community that, can relate to each other is really what tribes are all about. And I think there's really potential there.
Great. How can people learn more about digital badging and everything that you're doing over there at Fab Lab Hub?
Well, there's two things. One is my research resulted in a book that was published by Photonics Media Press, and it is called The New Color Workforce. It was published in 2018. And the first part of the book is the information from the manufacturers that I interviewed. It talks about what are the technologies that people are working on today and what are the skills we need to use those technologies. And the second half of the book really talks about alternative training programs like Fab Labs. It touches on digital badges because I was just starting to look into that. And you can find information about the book either through the photonics.com bookstore or for both the book and for more information on the badges, you can go to fablabhub.org. So HUB, like Boston, is the hub. So, but there's information on the badges mixed in with the Fab Lab Hub network.
Great. Well, thank you. We've had Sarah Boisvert on today from Fab Lab Hub, where she's the founder, and we truly appreciate her time. Thank you, Sarah, and we'd like to thank our sponsor, the Precision Metal Forming Association, and the PMA's Educational Foundation for helping us put this show on. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.